Arab leaders will have finally a spine to stand up to the bully of Donald Trump and to the oppression and genocide of the Zionist state of Israel. We do not know anything about that. We'll talk more about this because we do have a development. Before I move on, just to remind you guys, most of my viewers are not subscribed. If you happen to be one of them, consider subscribing. I want you to take a look at this particular report first, and then we can talk about how and why I said that the Arabs, they're now ready with their sword. Take a listen at this report first.
Now, Egypt says it will present a comprehensive vision for the reconstruction of Gaza that will not involve the displacement of Palestinians. It follows President Trump's meeting with the King of Jordan on Tuesday, where he doubled down on his plan for the US to take over the Gaza Strip and evict the entire population into neighbouring Arab countries. Meanwhile, there's fear the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas could end this weekend after Hamas said it would delay this weekend's planned hostage release. With more, here's our North America correspondent Peter Bowes.
Close allies they may be, but these two men have very different visions for Gaza's future. King Abdullah and Donald Trump met for the first time since the US president announced his plan to take over Gaza and move its population of more than 2 million Palestinians to other countries in the region, including Jordan.
It's going to be where we ultimately choose as a group, and I believe we'll have a parcel of land in Jordan. I believe we'll have a parcel of land in Egypt. We may have someplace else, but I think when we finish our talks, we'll have a place where they're going to live very happily and very safely.
Okay, so they're going to live happily and safely. Okay, we will see about that, but definitely there is no way the Palestinian people are going to leave Gaza. Now, this is what is coming on the news, and this is why I said they're ready with sword to fight against the Zionist state of Israel and also US if they need to. Arab League Secretary General Ahmed Abul Gheit rejected any plan to displace Palestinians from the Gaza Strip. So basically any plan means don't worry about displacing them or doing ethnic cleansing, or any plan, any way, shape or form you want to get rid of the people of Gaza from Gaza, it will not be acceptable, saying Wednesday that such resettlement would be unacceptable. Abul Gheit told the World Government Summit that US President Donald Trump's proposal to move the roughly 2 million Palestinians out of war-ravaged Gaza would push the region into a cycle of crisis with a quote-unquote damaging effect on peace and stability. Damaging effect on peace and stability. Of course, this is coming from the highest of the highest when it comes to the Arab leaders, the Arab Summit, the OIC and all that. Therefore, we have to take this word seriously. But again, whether they will act on it later on or not, we do not know, because what we have seen from King Abdullah from Jordan when he visited Donald Trump was very, very disappointing. Let's take a listen at this report a little bit more.
The UN has warned that any forced displacement of civilians from occupied territory is strictly prohibited under international law and tantamount to ethnic cleansing. Mr. Trump insists his plan will bring stability to the Middle East. Sitting by his side but walking a fine line between his view and that of the president, King Abdullah said he was looking to Egypt for a way forward.
I think one of the things that we can do right away is take 2,000 children that are either cancer children or in a very ill state to Jordan as quickly as possible, and then wait for, I think, the Egyptians to present their plan on how we can work with the president to work on the Gaza challenges.
Egypt has said it would work with the Trump administration, but any foreign intervention should avoid jeopardizing the gains of peace. The ceasefire, meanwhile, between Hamas and Israel is looking increasingly fragile. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has welcomed President Trump's call for it to be cancelled if Hamas fails to release hostages on Saturday, although it's not clear whether he means all hostages, as Mr. Trump demanded.
This operation is being carried out at this time. It will be completed in the very near future. The decision that I passed unanimously in the cabinet is this. If Hamas does not return our hostages by Saturday noon, the ceasefire will end, and the military will return to intense fighting until Hamas is finally defeated.
Responding to the Prime Minister's ultimatum, Hamas issued a statement renewing its commitment to the ceasefire and accusing Israel of jeopardizing it. Peter Bowes, BBC News.
Okay, so basically this is where we are at. Donald Trump is saying something that Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu did not even say. For example, he did not say, as BBC reported, whether Netanyahu would want all of the hostages back or the one that was promised. Donald Trump jumped in and said that, well, all hostages. So he's doing the work for Benjamin Netanyahu for free. And this is not going to be sitting well with the Arab leaders, because if you have both leaders, war criminal and convicted felon, talking at the same time and contradicting and even making it very, very dangerous, then of course everything will just fall apart. It is unacceptable for the Arab world, which has fought this idea for 100 years. So this is coming from, again, Abu Ghaid. Basically, they are saying we are pushing back this kind of displacement plan for the past 100 years, including we have seen how Ronald Reagan, when he approached Hosni Mubarak from Egypt, Hosni Mubarak, he said, I'm not going to be agreeing to this kind of deal where you give me all the Palestinians in Egypt, I'm not going to receive them. That is not something I can agree on. And throughout the years, we have seen this is being repeated by the Arab leaders, by the Arab countries over and over again, that this is a war crime, and we are not going to do that. We are not going to take the Palestinians into our lands because they belong to Palestine. The Palestinians belong to Palestine. Jordan's King Abdullah said after talks Tuesday with Trump that he reiterated his country's steadfast position against the displacement of the Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank. And I mean, quite frankly, what I have seen from this guy, King Abdullah, is very, very pathetic. Let's take a listen a little bit more about the analysis of the situation.
Well, let's get more reaction on that story. We can go live to Jerusalem and join our Middle East correspondent Yolan now. Yolan, we saw in that report there the differences that are now emerging. What can we expect in the days to come before the weekend that might move the needle on these differences?
I mean, I think this is now the time for regional mediators to really step in, try to clarify exactly what is required by Israel, try to put pressure on Hamas too to get things back on the right track, certainly for the initial stage of this ceasefire deal. We're looking now more than 3 weeks into this initial 6-week phase. Like, this is, the most delicate that the ceasefire really has been. And it's just still kind of a little puzzling exactly what was the result of that Security Cabinet meeting yesterday. The Israeli Prime Minister, in his video statement, he came out saying there had been a unanimous decision reached, and that was that Hamas has to return what he said were our hostages by noon on Saturday, otherwise the ceasefire would end. But it's been pointed out he didn't say all our hostages, echoing what President Trump's language was when he recommended this high-stakes ultimatum to Hamas. That would mean all the hostages, potentially all 76, still held by Hamas, both alive and dead, in the Gaza Strip. He could have meant the hostages that were already scheduled to be released this Saturday, 3 by Hamas, under the existing terms of the deal that Hamas had said it was freezing because of these alleged violations of Israel, of the ceasefire agreement. And Israeli media saying, although there have been key ministers coming out, there have been these briefings that were given to them by a senior Israeli official saying that the intention is, the demand is for all of the hostages to come back. Many analysts are saying that, Mr. Netanyahu doesn't appear to have closed the door on some kind of, way of keeping this deal going.
Okay, Yolande.
I mean, of course, this is what Israel wanted. They wanted, and they had no intention to honor this ceasefire because of Netanyahu facing this huge pressure, embarrassment, and defeat from not just from his own country, but from throughout the world. Whoever are supporting Zionist state, they're calling him out. Ben Gavir, Itmir Ben Gavir, he said, we have become a laughingstock. Netanyahu is definitely taking notice of all of this, and he's now willing to go back to fight, even though they know they are never going to be successful in Gaza. They can send as many troops as they want, as much money as they want. Netanyahu, Donald Trump, everyone knows they cannot succeed in Gaza. But this has now become a game of ego. This is now a war of ego, because otherwise, if they don't go back and they don't get the hostages back, this is the last straw. If Netanyahu is being defeated even in this one, the scheduled hostages or war prisoners who are supposed to be sent back to Israel or handed over to Israel, then this is going to be a huge public shame. And thanks to Donald Trump for broadcasting it to the whole world. Unbelievable. Take a listen a little bit more from this analysis.
Nell, with the very latest from Jerusalem, thank you very much for bringing us up to date. Well, let's discuss that a little bit further. I'm joined now by Mustafa Kamal Al-Said, Professor of Political Science and Director of the Centre of Study of Developing Countries at...
You have to listen to his commentary, because this guy, he points out some very, very interesting point and very important ones.
Cairo University. Welcome to BBC News. There's quite a lot to get through. I want to just start by asking you whether you think the ceasefire, in your assessment, might fall apart by the weekend.
I think this is a delicate moment for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and for the US President Donald Trump. It is a delicate moment because President Prime Minister Netanyahu is under strong pressure in Israel from the families of the hostages to continue the deal. Also, President Trump is facing a very awkward situation because he was proud of the fact that he brought the ceasefire even before he came to the White House. So ending the ceasefire now means more pressure on the Israeli Prime Minister and a big disappointment for President Donald Trump.
As I said, this is exactly what had been reverberated from this guy, which is that this is now become a war of ego. Donald Trump doesn't want to look bad. Nobody respect him. Netanyahu doesn't want to also look defeated. Nobody cares. And Hamas, they cannot be defeated by Netanyahu. Nobody wants to see this. The Zionist supporters, they don't want to see this. But again, going back to this article that I shared with you guys, it is very clear from now on, whatever the Arab leaders, they will be doing, I don't know what they will do, but they are becoming very united on this issue. Egypt, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, if they do stay together, united, strong against any proposal by Donald Trump to displace the people of Gaza, US and Israel and Zionists will face resistance. But again, because of their past records, it's very unlikely that could happen, because we have seen Jordan is the king just fell apart. But would the Arab do that? The Arab nations, 22 countries, declaring war on Zionist state of Israel and US is something we'll have to wait and find out. But again, to me, looks like they will not go down to that path. But if they do, that will be something very, very interesting to see.